election for Minnetrista, June 15th, 2026. I'm going to start by kind of a roll call. I'm Lisa Whalen, I'm the mayor, and present are also council members, Kathleen Refkin, Peter Vickery, Claudia Lacey, and Brian Govern. And then we have some staff present. We have Paula Baumann, who is our assistant administrator, Jasper Krugel, our city administrator, Brian Grimm, our finance director, and David Abel, who is our community development director. We have a number of items for discussion. We have the land lease for a cell tower. We have lift assist ordinance, tobacco ordinance, budget levy considerations, and water utility rate adjustments. So we've got a lot to cover tonight. So we're going to start with the land lease for the cell tower.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of council. What is before you is we've been talking to a vendor. A vendor's been talking with us for a little over a year about trying to get a cell tower on our property. Apparently we have a location here at around City Hall. I got Sarah just, I gotta let her in. Over there to the west of City Hall, that is an ideal area according to cell contractor. And they've been working through kind of the location with Public Works about where the optimal location is for the tower. The tower would be 150 feet tall. It would initially be used for Verizon, but there are a couple, maybe up to 3 vendors that are available. This comes into play with some of the lease terms potentially. So really tonight what I'm looking for is, I'll go over the lease terms on this in general, but I kind of want to get a feeling from City Council if they want me to proceed with this or if they just say no, I'll tell them no. But right now what the terms that are on the table, and these are significantly higher than what they originally started off with. So there's, I've been
always the case.
It is. So they have a 2-year option with $2,000 up front. So we'll get $2,000. That 2-year option allows them to make sure they get Verizon locked in, and then also go through the planning department to make sure that the tower itself is sufficiently sized and permitted correctly. So that's one piece that if we do want to proceed, we have to figure out, do we want to issue ourselves a conditional use permit because it's technically our land, but for something that would typically require a conditional use permit. I think, and David can chime in a little bit, we typically haven't given ourselves conditional use permits for things.
Wouldn't it be an IUP? I mean,
well, it'd be, no, cell towers are allowed by conditional use permit.
oh, okay.
Like for a water tower, I don't believe the last water tower we built, we didn't give ourselves a conditional use permit for that. So,
but we own it.
Yep. So, but we technically own the land. So we'll have to figure that out if we want to, what the process would be. A conditional use permit would be, we'd invite some of the public in and they'd have the ability to tell us if they are okay with it or not. So that's one thing. If we get to pass the terms and we want to look at the actual lease, and then we can talk about the process. But the rent would be $2,000 per month for the space that you see identified in the memo. That has a 3% adder. It would be a 35-year lease. And then if there is an additional cell phone vendor that's on the tower, we would get a $250 per month for that. So a lot of numbers, a lot of calculating, a long-term lease, obviously. The numbers are in the packet. It's, the total between 1.4 and 1.7 million for the life of the lease. I think the big thing here is kind of think about, does it add some value to the community? Is there cell phone coverage issues in this area? They're telling us there are. I don't know. There's different perceptions on if there are or not. So I guess a couple things I want information on from the group is, do we want to proceed with these terms and look at an actual lease, and then we can kind of look at more details in the process, or is this something that we just want to tell them no?
Well, the first thing, I'm leery about signing a 35-year lease. That's just me. Did you ever talk to them about maybe a 20-year lease or a 15-year lease? Has that?
What leases do we have on the water towers with AT&T and them?
So those they're different because they're using our tower to put it on. With this, they're investing between $1 and $1.5 million to build the tower. So they're investing in that. So that's why it's a longer term lease, is because they're actually putting the infrastructure in, whereas we have it. Our cell phone leases right now, I think, are on an auto renewing 10-year cycle. Is that what it is? 5-year cycle?
Yeah.
So they ought to renew every 5 years with an escalator, similar.
So did you talk about a 15 or 20-year lease?
I have not. So I think that they wouldn't go for that. If that's what we want, we'll just. we
Did you
can bring
ask,
it up.
did you ask, Voss, did you ask him if, what the length of terms are for other ones in the area?
So if it's a standalone, this is the standard length for these.
Okay. All right.
For the standalone, they're building their own tower. If they're putting it on an existing tower, I did shop out our Highway 7 tower, but apparently it's not in the right location because we do have conduit available for that location.
Okay. And then I talked to you earlier about the location on the site. I don't know why we would put it there. Why couldn't we, or wouldn't we want to put it way in the back?
Yeah, so I did have a chance to talk to Gary. I think he'll be joining us for the regular meeting, but this is Gary's preferred location because there is an access road that's required. So instead of having it cut all the way across the property or around the edge or something, or cutting off certain parts of the property, the access road would go straight off of 110 and to the tower. There's already a plan on Gary's side, or Gary's team, the Public Works side, to have a road there that goes to the back corner of the property as well. So it would be an existing road. So from staff side, that's where Gary would like it, just to kind of keep it ease of access, and it's not cutting apart our whole parcel. It's just a small.
But it wouldn't be cutting apart the whole parcel if it was way in the back. You would just have the access road issue. That's the only issue. And it could be on the side.
Yeah, so from my conversation with Gary, if you'd have an access road that would go, let's say from Highway 110 all the way to the back of the property, that would cut the property in half. And if we,
No, you don't have to. It can be on the western edge.
on the western side, I mean, we could, that area is very wet. It's a wetland, I know.
Lowest part of the property.
And it's the
too.
lowest part of the
On
property.
the back side?
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Those neighbors complain already about
Have
public
it?
works. I can only imagine if you're gonna put a tower right next to them. They
Yeah.
don't like it when they burn or,
That brings some
we get
bias.
calls about that all the
Probably a
time,
lot.
so.
Yeah, it's too bad we don't have a site plan for this. That's the thing, is we don't know what we're going to do in the future. We're tying up,
Yeah.
what, a half acre, more than an acre? 250 by 250?
yeah, not quite.
What, acre is 44,000 plus.
The other thing to mention, the reason why that area is not developed or farmed right now is that's our septic drain field. So
Right.
that area likely we can't do anything on anyway. So it'd be directly adjacent to that area. We can't do anything. But if there's a desire to move it to a different spot, I mean, I think we should talk to Gary about it. And I don't know if we have a vision for that side of the property right now.
We don't, that's the problem.
Do we care about what our residents think and what they're looking at? Because I wouldn't want to look at it. And I know people over in Palmer Point absolutely hate that cell tower. And, they're pulling into their $5 million houses looking at this gigantic cell tower, which they absolutely hate. And it's owned by someone out of state. So when they have complaints, it falls on deaf ears.
Yeah, so that's where the process comes into play, depending on if you want to issue ourselves a CUP, we could have a public hearing associated with that and invite folks in so they know about it.
They would have to pay for that,
The public hearing?
the vendor.
We have to pay for the public hearing.
Yeah.
Speaking as
Yeah.
somebody that has terrible Verizon service.
You're like,
north
yes.
I mean, I literally have to walk to one part of my house to make phone calls. I think there is a need for more coverage. So I would be okay with a tower because it would mean I could communicate with the world, but.
You could get T-Mobile. No, just kidding.
Well, we do have I do see water tower from my house.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, just for reference on the height of the tower, there is a tower to the north of us here that you can already see. That one's about 350 feet tall. So this one significantly not as tall as that one, but it still would be, to your point, quite noticeable.
Is there any renegotiating, let's say, price after
What do
15 or
neighboring cities
20?
get for theirs?
Yeah, so we're in this area, so we're in the area where we're on the low side of what we would consider a metro community where you have higher traffic volumes, and we're on the mid to high side for greater Minnesota. So the number that I threw out there originally was like 2,500 per month is where the sweet spot might be. They were at 1,000 per month for the longest time. That's why this has been sitting out here for a year. They moved to 2,000. I thought, well, that's intriguing. I'll bring it to city council. So,
Well, what do neighboring communities get for the ones that they have?
I guess I don't know. Going off what Bob tells me, 2,000 is a fair price for this area. He's kind of got a good check, and he was going to try to sign in, but he's not here. But if we want to try to
Good price
get
for a rural area, but not for the metro area. So this is what that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to hit it before we're too big, and then they'd have to come in with $3,000 or $4,000 a month, and that's why I'm saying a 35-year lease at $2,000 a month.
No way.
I would say 3,000 or go away.
Yeah, I mean, it seems low, and without any comparables from neighboring cities, I don't know why we would just take two.
well, I guess
What do we get per month for the tower leases?
Some of those are 40 to 50,000 a year. So, I mean, so that would be.
Double this.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
double.
this is low, especially.
but we provide the infrastructure for them to put the stuff on. That's the difference.
Right,
So
but
we could build a tower.
So figure out if they have to spend $1 million to build the tower, if that's what the true cost is, over 35 years, how much is that per year? We're only talking a few $100s.
Yeah.
So, so then the $2,000 a month is a steal. If we're getting 50,000 a year for stuff on our towers.
Yeah, I did talk to Bob of communities are building their own towers because it could be lucrative, obviously.
right.
Few have, a lot of them have acquired them through just transfer of deeds on properties, so.
Right.
But from what I'm hearing is we want more money per month. I can bring that feedback to them as well. But as far as the market goes, I mean, it's hard to place us, right? We're mostly rural, but we're in Hennepin County. We should be somewhere in between what
We're in
Bloomington.
Hennepin County, we're taxed like we're a metro town.
Yeah.
There's no reason to give the vendor a discount.
No kidding.
I mean, we're in Hennepin County, so we
Well,
can
but
call
what
it
is
whatever we want.
this area is zoned for what size lots? I mean, how many houses are around here? Like
Yeah.
10?
And it's.
Oh, yeah, but
it's-
it's going
Yeah,
to
but
reach farther.
we're
I mean,
growing
But
though.
we're
Yeah.
outside of,
Yeah.
it's outside the MUSA line now too, so,
But it's going to be servicing people within the MUSA.
well, that's true.
Yeah.
But my point is that it's a very rural area
Yeah.
right here. and
Right
that
here,
there's-
yeah, but the tower's going to extend past it.
Yeah, but nobody's, there's just a handful of residents in this area, so.
And it's based a lot on traffic volume. That's the core user of cell phones,
Right.
or people driving on Highway 7 and around the area. It helps the obvious people that live here, if they have Verizon and they have poor coverage, but it's a lot of it's based on average daily traffic counts and things like that, so.
Well, again, I think they're trying to get ahead of the curve because they're thinking this is a growing area and they don't want to come in 10 years from now when it's all built up and then they have to pay the full, same as what Bloomington might charge or whatever. And so I'd like to find out, okay, maybe we don't charge or maybe we don't ask what Bloomington is getting, but maybe we don't get the 2,000. Maybe there's something in between. Because 35 years from now, I can imagine that this whole area from 110 over to Highway 7 is probably going to be built out.
Well, I can tell you, from what they told me, this is their highest and best offer, so
Okay.
I can go back to them to see if there's even any wiggle room, and if there's not, I'm just gonna put it to bed and and if they wanna, come back with a different offer, that's great. But this was, a year in the making of them, I was kind of waiting them out and saying no and no and no, and then they came up with this, and so.
Brian,
How
what do
would
you
you
think?
guys feel if it was a shorter lease at the 2,000? Because obviously, if it was, say, a 10 or 15-year lease, that was where we could renegotiate
Right.
after that point when it is built up. I'm just thinking
Yeah.
if that, that's their highest that they're willing to go right now, would they be willing to shorten that lease period?
So that's why I was asking if they'd be willing to go to a 10 or maybe 15-year lease.
Yeah. Would the lease include depreciation of the tower after its useful life? Or,
I don't know exactly what the lease terms would be. We haven't talked about that part of it.
no?
But there's some maintenance that, from time to time, they'll have to pull permits on. I did ask what the permit, they'd have to pull a permit to build this. The permit cost would likely be between $10,000 and $15,000. So there'd be a little revenue piece there. But as far as the depreciation, we'd have to look and see what they have in the lease if we would get that far.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it just feels, I have to imagine in 35 years will be satellites or quantum something, and
I
I want to
know.
be stuck with a rusting
Yeah.
pole stuck next to
Yeah,
City
right.
Hall.
Okay, at the risk of you all rolling your eyes at me, there's a lot of critics that say 5G towers have a lot of radio frequency radiation, and they can have pose health risks.
A lot of
DNA damage.
conspiracy issues.
Because I don't want to live next to one. So I think the people that will be living next to that deserve to hear about it. And
Well, then that would be the CUP process. But I think the first step is seeing if they'd be willing to if it's 35-year lease, however, at the 10-year mark, it's renegotiating. Maybe every 10 years you renegotiate the lease cost or something. I don't know.
just do like a market check-in every 10 years and
Yeah.
then, or 10 or 15 years and see what the market is. I know, unfortunately, Bob's so for some reason isn't able to get
Okay.
on, but we've dealt with him on a couple other communications projects, and whenever we get a lease, Verizon's constantly trying to renegotiate with us or T-Mobile or whoever on our tower leases, and we check in with Bob. He's got a really good finger on the pulse of the market.
Okay.
He does a lot of these, so.
What would be the remedy or just under this hypothetical situation, if you build it and in 10 years you get to an impasse or something, where you want to renegotiate, but they say the 2 or 3 years still is good enough, and we say.
Well, then maybe we have to say 10-year lease, this is the amount. 10 to 20 years, then this is the amount.
Maybe you want to have some, yes.
And then 30 to
escalators.
35 years, it's this amount.
Yeah. That's,
So rather than, and in between the 1 and 10 years, it's the 3% increase, and then you have a new amount year 11, and then you have a new amount year 20, and every time you had that new amount, it still increases the 3 or 4%.
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
So you'd have to spell that out, I think. I'd be more comfortable with that versus just $2,000, because $2,000 in today's dollar, even if at 3%, you don't know what's inflation is going to do. It could mean only like $400 a month, in 35 years. When I think about 35 years ago, what we could buy, think about it. Okay, I know some of you aren't that old, but no, just kidding.
So it sounds like there's maybe a little appetite now for me to go back and say if we can shorten the lease, maybe put some market check-in parameters in a lease that says after 10 or 15 years, we do a market check-in. I think Brian has a valid point. Like, they have their infrastructure here. If we say, sorry, lease is done,
No, that's why I'm saying, we say after 10 years, then
More
it.
defined than market
it's-
check-in.
Yeah.
or something, yeah.
4,000 versus
Either that
2,000.
or, like, if they're stuck on the 2,000, then we increase the escalator,
Yeah, so
so it goes up more.
it was, they were at 2%, and it took quite a while to get them to come to 3.
Okay.
But 2% really blows we wouldn't even look at it. But maybe after year 10, we have a 4% escalator or something like that. We could look at what that does for the numbers. I don't know what it does, but I'd have to crunch them.
Okay.
But it's a shorter lease, lower lease number, and then some mechanism, some way to get more money maybe after 10 or 15 years.
Right. Okay.
I'll
All
see
right.
what they have to say. They might just say,
They
sorry.
might just say, sorry, go away. And that's okay. I mean, anybody, I'm sorry, Peter. You're going to have to switch to T-Mobile, sorry. All right.
Satellite option, way to go.
All right. Next, we have the lift assist ordinance review.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, members of council, this is a product of a previous work session where we floated the idea of doing a lift assist ordinance. This one, kind of the bones of it came from Maple Plain. I got feedback at that meeting to include both residential and the independent living and one tier, and then have the assisted living facilities in another. So you'll see those basic fee schedules for the assisted living facilities being at 1 to 5 calls at $250, 6 to 8 at 500, and then 9 or greater is at 850 per call. This is all in a 1 year period. So 1 year rolling period. For the residential independent living lift assist fee schedule, lift assist 1 through 3 are no charge, 4 to 8 are 250, and 9 or greater are 500.
And so my only question is it for the entire facility for the assisted living, or is it per individual at the facility? So
for the assisted living, per the ordinance, if there would be an assisted living facility that would come into Minnetrista, we would then, it requires an agreement that we have with them.
Okay.
So in that case, it would be, for the assisted living, it would be for the facility.
Okay,
Yep.
so it doesn't matter if resident Joe needs assistance 5 times, we would still, but resident Sue needs it 1 time, it's 250 no matter what. Okay, it's for the whole facility.
For the facility,
Yeah, okay.
whereas the other one would be for the individual property.
Individual property, okay, all right. Or person, yeah, okay.
Thinking out loud here, but would we want to build in a mechanism to essentially forgive fees in certain cases? I realize it's probably opening a can of worms because then everybody would, but on the other hand, I don't think I'd want grandma sitting on the floor because she's afraid to call and get charged for the 4th
Well,
pickup.
I think it would be, well, that would, so if she falls and gets hurt, then she goes to the hospital and then she doesn't have the fee. It's just if you fall and you can't get up, and then if, in theory, if it happens 4 times, probably shouldn't be living at home anymore, so.
Or you should be calling a friend or neighbor.
Yeah.
A lot of these,
Same people.
so it is, but a lot of these are very large people that are very difficult to lift. And so that's why they have to call the fire department or the police.
I mean, odds are if grandma falls, she's going to the hospital because they're checking her hip or her bones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So then there wouldn't be the fee because there would be transport to the hospital, so.
And if somebody doesn't pay the bill fee, would that be added to property taxes?
Right.
Yeah, we would go through the certification process, just as if anybody wouldn't pay an invoice for the city. So there would be potentially a touch point for city council to forgive that during that certification process in the fall. It could be similar to like a utility bill situation where the individual would come to persons to be heard and request forgiveness as well. But those would be kind of the two ways city council could forgive the bill if they wanted to.
Does it need to say 1 year rolling period, or, because 1 year period seems vague, so should it specify rolling or calendar?
Let's see.
Because just 1 year period to me is vague.
Yeah, I mean,
It should-
to us, the interpretation of 1 year period is from the last lift assist request. So, I mean, we could put
So
1 year.
if you get a lift assist request from assisted living facility on March 1st, and that's the first one you got, then they would have till March 1st of the next year.
Yeah, so if we want to say a 1 year rolling or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that, we
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you fall in at the assisted living facility, if someone gets hurt in July and then they call again in January, they'd be like, it's a new year, this shouldn't, like,
Right,
yeah.
yeah, rolling.
Yeah, it needs to say rolling.
Yeah, so just just to be clear, in the fee description, we'll have 1 year rolling period instead of just 1 year period.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my only question is, do we have any numbers, do we know of people that are still living in their home, or we don't have any facilities that are independent living? So I don't think, yeah, we don't. Anyhow, so do we have any numbers of people calling for lift assist? Do you know in Minnetrista?
There aren't a lot.
Yeah.
based on the fire reports. I think
Right.
it's preemptive to,
Right,
Yeah.
for the
I think there's a lot.
facilities, for the,
and they're not, we don't have repeat offenders like Madeline and Spring Park do. So the ones that are calling aren't.
Okay.
It's not
I talked to both Eric and Vicky over in Mound, and we don't have anybody in the residential area that would meet the threshold to even be charged.
okay,
So,
all right,
yeah.
all right.
The only question I would have, and it probably won't come up much anyway, is I think when Craig's not here on the alarm fee, or when the alarm fines, they get a couple free or freebie and then it goes up.
Yeah.
I think that is actually, not 100% sure, but I think because they bill or send it to us to bill, but I think that's on a calendar year, like when you were saying calendar rolling, because then if it is a new year, then I think they almost do get
Yeah.
like, hey, it's a fresh year, and I don't know.
Is
if it's
it easier to monitor if it's on a
Probably,
calendar?
that's what I was,
On a
yeah, January,
calendar,
December would
January?
be a little
Substantially
more
easier.
just for tracking.
For
or whatever.
tracking?
Yeah,
Okay,
so-
I'm fine with that too.
Calendar.
Calendar?
Calendar year then? Okay.
And
From
then,
1 January to 31 December, okay.
and then the unpaid invoices, the rate of interest at the 8%, how is that set? Or what is that based on?
That Jasper must have put in. I would have done something more like 5, or so that's what we do. So
Are we
I'm not
picking
sure
8
where you
versus
got that,
5?
or, so.
Yeah, we can put whatever we want in there. That's just
All right.
what was in the
Or maybe
Maple
they-
Plain
Okay. Yeah, I would
ordinance
say-
that we originally looked at, so.
I think 5 is good.
Okay,
That's what we
5.
charge on
Yeah.
the water bills if they're
Yeah.
late and
Yeah.
everything
Okay.
else.
So that's under subdivision 3.
Yep.
B, 5%, okay.
Okay. Okay, any other comments? So we have, all right,
And then we could bring this forward for adoption in July. Would you-
and well, so we want to talk about, I want to talk about the date in July for our meeting, but that's not on our agenda.
Oh, yeah. So the next meeting we have, we can bring it forward, whatever that date is. And then, do you want it in, is it okay to put it on consent, or would you like it on business?
Consent is fine,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
Can I ask about the July meeting?
Sure.
Okay, so it's scheduled for the second Monday in the month. So usually we miss the first, that's our standard.
The 4th and no one's going to be here.
And, yeah. So anyhow, it's usually the first and third. And this, for some reason or other, it was logged in as the second Monday for our one and only meeting in July. I'd like to do the 20th instead. That would be our regular third Monday of the month. Does anybody have a issue with that?
I'm fine with it.
I like it better.
Okay.
like it better.
It kind of stays with our schedule. Is there? Well, you're outvoted. We have 3 against.
Yeah, 3. It doesn't matter what you guys think.
I think we should be fine
On the 20th.
I think the
on the 20th. Okay.
Brian, does that work for you?
My phone's thinking, but it probably is.
Okay. All right, so what do we have to do to move that?
Let's see here. We just need to notice it correctly. I mean, we publish we'll put it on our website, but we'll just have to notice it
Okay.
within the 3 days, which is what we do anyway.
All right,
Yeah, we have plenty of
cancel the
time.
one.
Yeah.
The other.
okay,
A
that's,
month, so there's
yeah,
plenty of notice
Yeah.
time.
all right.
What's the
Yeah,
first
I'm
Monday?
good for the 20th.
6.
July 6th. We don't have a meeting then.
Why don't we just do that? Why don't we have it on July 6th?
No, that's right after the 4th of
Because
July.
everyone's on
Yeah,
vacation?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I won't be here.
I won't be here
Yeah, you
either.
won't, you don't think he'll forum.
All right, it is the 250th celebration.
All right, so we're going to move it to the 20th. All right. Let me know if we need to do anything besides that. Okay, now on to the tobacco ordinance review.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. As you all remember, we last year placed a moratorium on the establishments or expansions of tobacco shops. And so working with Sarah at Kenny and Graven, we have a draft ordinance here that basically, based on the discussions that was had with the moratorium, the direction for Sarah was come up with the most restrictive ordinance you possibly can that is allowed in the state of Minnesota, and this is what you have here. So the ordinance does prohibit licenses for businesses that are primarily engaged in selling tobacco products. So no tobacco shop would be permitted within the city of Minnetrista. We did offer the caveat there that grocery stores, convenience stores, gas stations, or similar retail establishments that would be approved by city council would be able to sell tobacco. But as you'll notice in the ordinance, there are buffer distances that go along with that. So there again, it's technically allowed, but there are buffers and restrictions that go along with that. It's my understanding that the current grocery store we have in our community does not sell tobacco. And so it didn't sound like, I think Jasper had a conversation with the manager, and it didn't sound like they had any interest of ever doing that either. So we should be pretty good. We don't have any gas stations, obviously, in our community either. So, but if a grocery store or a convenience store did want to do it, we do have the buffer restrictions that go along with that. That would be looked at if they were to do something like that. So. Other than that, like I said, it is as strict as it can be and does not allow for the primary use of tobacco products being sold at a store. And like I said, it's about as restrictive as we can be within the state of Minnesota.
Okay, thank you, David.
Yeah.
Questions? Okay, looks good. So you want to bring that back also under consent for the July 20th meeting? All right.
Yep.
And then we have our budget levy consideration or discussions. I'll hand that over to Brian.
Yes,
All right.
Madam Mayor and Council, I can start that. So, gosh, 27 seems like a long ways away, but it really isn't, I guess, right? Or, I don't know, I guess we got to start looking ahead. We got our audit done last time, 25, we're in 26, and we'll start looking ahead. But yeah, the main reason for this discussion, or right off the bat, before we really get into it in August, is to see, I guess, what the council thinks as far as parameters while laying out what some of the different, whether they're commitments or whether they're, potential items on the horizon for 27, or, things that are existing or future items. So I tried to lay that out starting, I think it's on page 25 of the packet. It's a little different year as far as the last few years, the union contracts. It's always a 3-year contract, so we're going into a new, I guess, contract for 27, 28, 29, or hopefully be a 3-year contract, I think is the plan. But so that's open right now, as well as obviously the non-union adjustments as well. But some things are, I guess, we're starting to be talked about. Reference there at the bottom of page 25, the fire contracts. There'll be obviously discussions that staff and council members will be involved in there as far as where those are going to go. I know there's been there'll be some upcoming information on the cafeteria plan, other benefits. So that'll be brought to the personnel committee and the council. So those are some of the first items. There is the comprehensive plan update there going into page 26 there. That'll be some dollars budgeted there for that. That obviously hasn't had to be budgeted the last few years. Inflation, who knows? I guess some of the CPI is a little high right now, but where that ends up at as far as fuel costs and other things like that. So that was the first section there. Then it transitions.
Brian, can I just ask a question real quick?
Yep, go ahead.
On the compensation, that 3% increase, what about the unions? And I'm hearing that a lot of the police departments are getting a much bigger increase than 3%.
So this is 3% of the total levy. So so you're looking at almost different numbers. Our levy is close to that, it's $8 million.
Okay,
so it's 3% of that, where it's taking into effect that I think I've plugged in something higher than that for the union contracts, at least for, a ballpark figure.
Right.
But that's the difference.
That's the
it's 3% of the levy, not really 3% of just year over year
okay.
on the personnel cost, if that
All right.
makes sense.
So that also for that one, the cafeteria plan, other benefits, the estimated impact of 100,000, what is that based on?
So that, and maybe Jasper can speak more to that, but in other years, that's been less, and we've kept our pretty much the, what we offer employees right now at that 950 for quite a while. So I think that's more of what potentially could happen there, is why that at least is a little higher number budgeted there. I think last year's number might have been 40,000 or something, but based on maybe that family number needing to be bumped up.
Right.
So this is going to go to personnel committee. So this is kind of a planning number. based on some of the averages that we had. I had to give Brian something. So I'd rather put something in and then take it out later,
Right,
if that's what we
Yeah.
want to do. So,
okay.
Could be, whether you call that potentially highest scenario or something, it could be hopefully less than that, but at least it's something that, depending on what, like the personnel committee talks about, and then ultimately brings to council.
Okay,
So,
all right. Comprehensive plan update. Are there any funds from Met Council? I know not for us, but I know for smaller cities. Can't we pretend to be a smaller city? Okay.
Right, they call us a small city with cell phones.
Yeah, I know.
so that, yeah, well, that's including even taking some from the general fund, some, a little bit, some from utilities as well as, and then some, David said most of it would be probably in 27. There will be some that'll carry into 28 or whatever.
Okay.
So that's those numbers. And then I think this has been discussed with council, but as, right now we're at about that 40% fund balance there in number 2, but, as expenditures go up in order to keep
Yep.
that, we have to put money to the bottom line. So that, could be in that $100,000 to $120,000, $150,000 range based on where our expenditures land. So that's something to keep in mind. So that's really the general fund impact there then is subtotaled. And then, the last items there are I guess more of our capital items, the roads and the, capital equipment plan. We have been putting money to the roads levy, and then now we've sort of done additional levies for the 2023 bigger projects, and then the 2026 will come online next year. So we are putting more money to roads. It's just some of it's been, dedicated debt money versus actually into the roads fund. But then I did want to point out the road fund is at about 2 million. I think we've talked about that.
That's the fund balance,
That's
though.
the fund
Yeah.
balance in the fund. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. The levy is more of the actual levy that went into the fund this year is 400,000, but the balance in the fund is 2 million. So, so we, might have some flexibility there, but obviously council can decide how much money they want to, put into that for the annual, allotment for 2027 as we get into that. And then,
So you're figuring, okay, how many dollars are you figuring?
well, so right now, I guess if you look at what we've done the last several years, so right now, I think, I thought, we'd maybe bump that up. We have been adding 100 to 150,000, so that would bump the cash levy up to like 500, 525. But then knowing that we have that 135,000 for the 2026 project coming online for 27. So really that's new money that'll have to be levied for next year. So,
Right, but I'm saying there's a difference between 100,000 and 150,000. Oh, so you're saying 1.3 to 1.8. So let's just say 1.8 right now, and then we can figure out.
in there,
Yeah.
so, yep, so that's that one. And then we'll be talking at our staff level in this week about the capital equipment plan, and that'll come to council in August. But that we've been levying about, or for 26 we levied 250,000. We've been trying to increase that, by 50,000 a year to try to get away from having to do an equipment certificate. We may not be able to do that for 27 with just, I've seen the initial drafts, and we will have the other part of the water, project to bond for in 27. So, a lot of times if we're going out to bond for that already, it's not bad to add an equipment certificate to help spread out the levy impact over.
But if we're trying to get away from equipment certificates, shouldn't we be kind of ratcheting it down? So do we have one that's falling off in 27?
I think we have one that might be falling off for 50 or 100,000. I'll have to double check, but there's either one that just fell off this last year or is falling off for 27.
Can you check, because then, so here's the thing with everything that's on here, we might want to start with 12% and then ratchet it back, but what I'm saying is if we can look at the equipment certificates and say, okay, this is falling off in 27, we could replace it with the same amount. What would that amount be? You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't increase it by 2%.
I just looked that up. It's 101,000 is falling
Okay.
off this year, or it's the last payment is this
Is
year.
this year. So next year, if we did a certificate versus cash, because we're trying to get up to where we can do cash.
Yeah.
So if we did a certificate next year and the payment was 100,000, we should be even, right?
Correct.
I mean,
yeah, potentially.
you're the banker.
And that would be whether we'd even want to bump maybe the cash levy up a little more too, to try to get that base higher. So, I mean, there's different ways we can.
Right.
We look at.
So if you did that, so let's just say you did an equipment certificate where the debt payment was 100,000 because it's replacing the one that's falling off, and then you just raised the CIP by 50,000, now all of a sudden it's 300,000 that you're levying every year, right?
Correct. Yep.
And then it would only be about a 0.75, a 3/4% increase. Is that about right? A 50,000 on an $8 million budget is around 0.6%.
Less than a percent,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I'm just saying, think of it that way, see if you can work those numbers.
Yeah. And yeah, obviously, yeah. I think some of the numbers there are based on, from the initial drafts of the CIP, like it was in that 750 to $1 million range. So that'll be even something staff will need to
Right.
talk about. And obviously Gary will have a say, and Craig, and they'll have to say why they need it to the council, and all
Right,
that always
right,
process
okay.
going, because they're gonna have to be the advocates, because I don't know how badly they need this loader, this 2 squads versus 1 versus 3, or
Yeah, okay.
I think the prelim CIP, I think, is at 939 right now.
It says
Yeah,
here,
it's up
yeah,
there. It's
okay.
It's getting up
probably
there,
closer
but,
to $1 million
but we
than
haven't
50.
really refined it.
Yeah, it's sort of just the initial, I guess, request from, or lack of a better way to put it.
You always say,
or-
ask for more, hope for it, knowing you'll probably get less, okay.
So yeah, so I guess when you, basically to sum that up, when you add that all together, it's in that, depending on what we do with the capital, equipment, it's still probably in that, 8 to 900,000,
yeah.
so, that 10, 11, 12 range for a initial blush,
Yeah.
first glance, I guess.
Okay.
And whether that's even, whether that's fine with city council for, I mean, obviously for September's, that's the preliminary levy, you can always, it's the
Right.
ceiling or the maximum, and
And some of it's going to depend on the union contracts. We may not even have those completed by September. So I would caution that I'd rather go high, and then once we know those contracts, then we can adjust. But if we go too low and then those contracts come in, then we might not have as much wiggle room. But I'd like to be 10 or less, but I think we need to start out more at the 12 and see what we can do.
And I guess, or another question I was going to ask, I assume everyone's still, or I guess, what is everyone thinking that 40% is, I mean, that's what our policy says right now, as far as, I mean, I think I've mentioned before, some cities go 35 to, or the state auditor says 35 to 50%. I've always been fine with the 40%.
40, I think we need to stay at 40, especially since we're going to be bonding next year again. And I know that they look at that, and they say, yeah, you have a healthy fund balance, and you're adding to it. I think we need to do that.
Yeah, they have commented that our financial performance and being able to stay consistent at that level has been something they
I get a little nervous
value
when
or
it's
look
below 40%. So,
I noticed there's nothing for new employees. Are you thinking of adding anybody or anybody to the police department or that sort of thing?
No, at this time, there are no requests for 2027, so.
but the police already have a 16th officer budgeted for, right?
Yes.
So that's not, and that's going to be in this budget. That's not going to go away, and they actually have to hire two people,
Yeah,
I think.
We have 2 vacancies.
Two
yeah.
vacancies.
Never going to be at.
I know.
Like, they're never.
I know. Well, that's all the more reason we have to have, maybe that's why we have to really look at our union contract too, make sure that we're very competitive.
I think there just aren't police. I don't think we're not competitive.
Yeah.
There just aren't any.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's tough out there. It is.
Just add one.
Well, we're hoping to add one, at least. All right, did we ever talk about hiring retired police officers at part-time? I mean,
Yes.
Okay.
So I've talked to Craig about this, and it's kind of a pipe dream is what it kind of comes out to be.
Okay.
If you get the perfect person that wants to do it, then it works, and that person is highly unlikely. It's very, very unlikely that we'll be able to get them. So
Okay.
they are, I mean, they all talk, right? They
Yeah.
talk to the other agencies, and we know who's retiring and whatnot. And but typically they like to go, if they do retire, into a less dangerous field,
But it is out here.
even in law enforcement, like you'll see them go to be a jailer or a bailiff
Or
or,
at schools,
Yeah.
we have some retired ones at Providence. They're great. They're
Yeah.
the nicest guys ever.
yeah. So typically to get back on the road and do that. They don't
Okay,
generally do that. But there are, I know one community that has had success.
okay, all right. Okay, so do you have enough good direction?
So, yeah, probably in this transitions maybe into the next item, but the only place that me personally could maybe see, and that wouldn't affect the tax levy, is depending on where the utilities billing stuff goes, whether we need to add somebody for finance utility. We have some additional support there, but that would obviously be something we'll have maybe more data after we get through this summer, I guess. And
Okay.
council obviously would, get to.
What do you have in your contingency fund budget? 50,000?
Right now, I think it's just, for the current year, it's just 30. We really haven't gotten into the
Okay.
operation. I mean, I'd like to bump it up to like 50 or something,
Right.
because I think it was pretty, it was like 15 and 20. We've
Right.
gotten up to 30. It'd be nice to keep, because that's where we're able to, if you don't have to touch that contingency, you're able to help put to that fund balance number. or
Go to
whatever.
the fund balance, right?
Yeah, I would, if it's able to work or something,
Okay.
maybe the council's okay with bumping that up, and knowing that hopefully we don't have to spend it or whatever, so.
The other question I would have is building permits. Are we on track so far?
This, yeah, we're gonna actually, we've done okay for this year. We've hit our amount for 2026, and as long as we're able
Already?
to keep, yeah, so when we really had ratcheted that
Good
down.
going,
so-
David.
Well, conservatively or whatever, which was good, so.
Okay.
But yeah, so there might, I mean, if we end up, that might be something where we'll end up in a little better position,
Yeah.
hopefully at the end of 26, based on that we
Okay.
really had brought that number down, so.
All right. All right. All right. Utilities next. So you've got good direction. All right. All right.
Thank you, that'd be a good start for then.
Yeah.
Bringing that, that information in August to council, so, and working at the staff level, so. So yeah, I guess, or, I mean, transition into that last item then, Mayor, or the.
Yeah, yeah, water utilities.
So, yeah, I guess, and the brunt of the information is this in the regular meeting packet, but I guess, so I don't know if council has that open too, but was there any, more just wanted to bring it to the work session if there was any questions or basically the numbers that were put in were from the 2026 budget process and transitioning from, the first part of the year was quarterly billing and the base rate was going to be this. And then we were going to, bounce the base rate as well as, the tiers to the monthly configuration as of July 1st of this year, or, so I guess whether there was any questions on what was included in the packet for that ordinance to adopt, to publish that, or any other thoughts or
No, I
feedback or?
ran the numbers, and so at a $35 base rate, and if somebody used 16,000 gallons, so they'd be 0 to 8,000 would be $6, and 0 to, and then 8,000 or more than 8,000 to 16 would be $9, and you run the numbers, and it comes out to about $155 for water on a monthly basis. So, and we were thinking roughly 10,000 a month is what an average or typical. So this would be a little bit higher.
Yes, that's the Minnetrista average.
Right.
The actual average is around 6.
We
Right.
don't use 10,000 and I've got, there's 5 of us, so.
Yeah. So it seems like that shouldn't be too big of a pill to swallow. But here's the thing, I always say, think about this. Our rates are actually slightly lower than Mound's, and we deliver clean, healthy, drinkable water to their home, whereas Mound is,
Well, I actually had a discussion with a resident about that. She's like, why are our rates so high? I'm like, well, they're actually not that high. And then if you lived in Mound, you couldn't drink your water. And she was like, seriously? I'm like, yeah, they can't drink their water there. So like
And
our
they
rates are
have-
good.
yeah.
And we're putting in a plan. So
yeah, yeah.
we have an actual structure going in.
So if anybody asks you,
That's the
our
general
rates
response.
are
They're not that-
lower.
Pacify everybody.
Okay.
So, and then,
Bills.
Is there any concerns with the outsourced billing, having 2 different cadences for the water and non-water people?
no, we've had discussions with them as far as the ones that will basically get their monthly bills in July and August, and then the quarterly staying on quarterly. Is that like your question, or the ones that aren't on water staying on just getting the quarterly billing?
Yeah.
That should be fine, because we're actually reconfiguring, or just basically converting the way basically the first 2 account numbers or whatever, just the non-water people are going to go from what they have now to if they look at their bill, it'd be 50, and we'll be able to segregate based on those, pull those, and just add those into every 3rd month or whatever. So it'll be, like July and August will be accounts that start with 01 through 49, and they'll get their monthly bills. We'll send that to info send, and then we'll just add in accounts 50 or whatever, which is basically your sewer recycling, stormwater accounts.
Stormwater recycling.
Yep. And that, it was even reflected, in the fee schedule. So the ones that don't have water will stay on, because we figured, even the sewer accounts get $175 every quarter. That's, I think, a manageable bill, and they're used to that.
Okay, so if they're not on water, even if they're on sewer,
Yep.
they still just get quarterly.
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
So it'll
and-
just be the
yeah.
water users that'll get the monthly bill. It's basically, if you don't have water, you'll stay on the quarterly
Okay,
repetition of receiving your bills or cycle.
Yeah.
So, and that wasn't something that came up with the company as far as, so basically we'll have the 2,300 accounts in July and August, and then we'll send them 3,500 accounts in September, and then repeat cycle, so.
The ordinance fee schedule is missing the word gallons after the third tier under commercial.
Okay, I wonder if that add that in the final published one or whatever, so.
Yep.
Commercial, yep. We can do that for the clean copy, or even, I guess, notate it when we adopt it too, or just that, but no thanks for that catch. And then, I guess the late fee would just be, I think we even talked about the late fee earlier, so it'll be 5% for monthly. We do the 15%, which is basically, for quarterly. Still, I don't know if anyone else have any other questions or comments or?
anybody?
And then, one other thing, I guess,
Okay.
during the work session, I was going to ask, I know it came up at the last meeting to start, do like a tracking sheet, by a few different categories. Do we want to start that for July after the last second quarter billing, or just start it in August after the first monthly billing? Is there any thoughts as far as having a baseline or of the quarterly, or just start it once the monthly bills go out? Or I'm fine either way, I
July
guess.
1st, just
Yeah.
start it then.
You-
And then you
Start-
can
Might
see the
as- yeah.
baseline.
Just put a baseline of how many people,
Yeah.
so, okay.
I mean, people are kind of used to, but I might as well start it.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether we start in
Yeah.
July or August, just
Right.
wanted to be, I guess, or get everyone's thoughts, I guess.
Right, yeah,
Because then, we can coordinate with staff.
okay.
Okay.
Any idea what we have for the work session coming up on July 20th?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's quite a bit.
Oh, geez,
Actually.
okay.
Let me just read that off here. So we have a water meter software update. So we have to update our software that Renee uses for processing the water reads. It's kind of a year and a half out, but we want to get it in front of you. It's not entirely that much, but it's a different process. We have the comp plan task force interviews. So there's a bunch of people that are going to be interviewing on the 13th. Now is the time to,
Residents?
20th.
or the 20th, yes.
Residents
Yeah.
that are going to be part of the committee, okay.
Yep.
All right,
We're going to do a city council pay check-in because this is the window that we can adjust city council
Oh, sure.
pay before the election and then have it enacted starting in
and the last
2027.
pay increase was when?
2020,
Yeah, that sounds right.
before I started. It was.
It's
council
been longer
before.
than that.
Went up by like,
It went up before I started. That's when they
Yeah.
voted on it.
Yeah.
it
That was the most
implemented-
recent one, I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it started in 2021.
So I'll just provide some
Okay.
baseline data from communities around us and then
Okay.
you guys get to choose if you want to give yourself a raise or give, I guess, potentially the 3 people that'll for sure be here in 2027.
Okay.
raises. Then we have the ATV ordinance discussion.
Okay,
And then I did confirm with Fire Chief Greg Peterson that he wasn't able to come to this meeting. He's out of town, but he will be able to come. I'll have to double check on the
check on the 20th, sorry.
Yep. And then we have on the 20th, I'll have to tell all the employees that we have employee service recognition. I asked them to come on the 13th. I'll ask them to come on the 20th. So
Okay,
I think there's seven folks that
Wow,
are.
okay.
I think there's,
so we're going to do that during the work session?
it's during special presentations.
Okay, so
regular
the meeting,
Yep.
okay.
I think if I might be wrong, but I think there's 95 years of police recognition, which is kind of.
Total.
Total.
I mean, the
For this-
combined-
This cycle
combined.
that are hitting the 5-year increments, so that's pretty amazing.
Okay. Okay. Then we can be adjourned until 6:30. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Lacy. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. And there's food.
Yay.
in the lunchroom.
Ann said that she